Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. President Trump signed a bill to fund the government through the end of January, bringing an end to the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. His signature came hours after the House of Representatives approved the spending package, largely along party lines, and 43 days after the shutdown furloughed hundreds of thousands of government workers, forced hundreds of thousands more to work without pay, caused the cancellation of thousands of flights, and froze SNAP food stamp benefits for 1 out of every 8 people across the United States. Ahead of the House vote, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries rallied Democratic lawmakers and promised to fight soaring health care costs, which are set to spiral even higher under the Republican spending bill.
Now, Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. They own the mess that has been created in the United States of America. They own it.
This comes after 8 members of the Senate Democratic caucus joined Republicans to approve the legislation Monday, even though the bill did not include Democrats' key demand, an extension of the Affordable Care Act subsidies. Meanwhile, there's growing backlash over a provision of the spending bill that would allow 8 Republican senators to personally sue the government for up to $1 million if their phone records were seized as part of Special Counsel Jack Smith's investigation into the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. Maryland Democratic Congressmember Jamie Raskin called the measure one of the most blatantly corrupt provisions for political self-dealing and the plunder of public resources ever proposed in Congress, unquote. On Wednesday, Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson said he was shocked and angry after he learned of the provision and promised to schedule a vote next week to repeal it. Arizona Democrat Adelita Grijalva was sworn into office by House Speaker Mike Johnson Wednesday, 50 days after winning her seat in Congress. Soon after, Grijalva provided the final signature on a discharge petition to force a vote on the Justice Department's full release of the Epstein files.
For one individual to be able to silence 800,000 people, it's unconscionable. Es grosero. It's just not okay. Speaker Johnson purposefully obstructed my swearing in by canceling vote after vote. And the Epstein files discharge petition sat 1 signature short. With my signing, we move 1 step closer to the truth that they will try to deny, but that survivors deserve their day of justice, and the American people demand it.
We'll speak with Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva on her first full day in office later in the broadcast. Grijalva's signature came as Democrats on the House Oversight Committee released 3 emails by the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein in which he referenced Donald Trump. In one 2019 email, Epstein wrote Trump, quote, knew about the girls. In another email from 2011, his co-conspirator and convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein mentioned that Trump had, quote, spent hours at Epstein's house with Virginia Giuffre. Earlier this year, Trump had said Epstein stole her from his club spa. Soon after the release of the 3 emails mentioning Trump, Republicans released a trove of over 20,000 emails from the Epstein estate. In one of them, Epstein had described Trump as a dirty businessman who was borderline insane. On Wednesday, White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt was asked about Trump's ties to Epstein as described in the emails.
Did the president ever spend hours at Jeffrey Epstein's house with a victim?
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong.
This comes as President Trump reportedly called Republican Congress members Lauren Boebert and Nancy Mace in a failed bid to have them remove their names from a discharge petition calling for a vote demanding that the Justice Department release the Epstein files. Congressmember Boebert was also reportedly summoned to the White House Situation Room Wednesday for a meeting with Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel to discuss the Epstein files. We'll have more on this story after headlines when we speak with a lawyer who represents several survivors of Epstein's and Ghislaine Maxwell's abuse. Israel's carried out fresh attacks on Gaza in its latest violation of October's ceasefire agreement. Israeli airstrikes are reported in Beit Lahia, eastern parts of Gaza City, and in Khan Yunis, where some areas are also under Israeli artillery fire. On Wednesday, Israel reopened the Zakim crossing into northern Gaza for the first time in 2 months, following repeated pleas by UN aid agencies to allow food and other essential goods to flow to communities left hungry and destitute by Israel's scorched earth bombing campaign. Meanwhile, Israel's increasingly barring foreign doctors from volunteering in Gaza, like California trauma surgeon Dr. Feroz Sidwa, who says he was blocked from entering Gaza this week. The World Health Organization warns only half of Gaza's 36 hospitals are even partially functional. This is Mohammed Wael Helis, a 14-year-old Palestinian boy who's gone months without proper care for a severe spinal cord injury he received when an Israeli airstrike struck the vehicle he was riding in.
I have been waiting for surgery for 50 days, and my surgery shouldn't be delayed because I have a severed spinal cord. Also, there are thousands of people waiting for surgery rooms. I also have vertebrae fractures, and I can't breathe.
Israel's parliament has advanced a bill that would introduce the death penalty for individuals charged with terrorism against the state and against those who kill Israelis. Critics of the bill point out the law would only apply to Palestinians charged with terrorism and not Jewish extremists who target Palestinians. The head of the United Nations Migration Agency has called for a ceasefire and a humanitarian aid corridor in Sudan to help civilians trapped in the city of al-Fasher, which was captured by the paramilitary group, the Rapid Support Forces, last month. The UN is also warning 2 out of 3 people in Sudan are in dire need of aid and that the situation is, quote, horrific for civilians, unquote. Women fleeing al-Fasher describe widespread killing, sexual violence, rape, and the disappearance of their children. This is Anna Mutavati, UN Women Regional Director for East and Southern Africa.
Women's bodies, ladies and gentlemen, have just become a crime scene in Sudan. There are no safe spaces that are left, nowhere for women to gather safely, to seek protection, or even access even the most basic psychosocial care.
A new report by the Climate Action Tracker finds the world is on pace to see the average global temperature rise by a catastrophic 2.6 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, far above the 1.5-degree limit to global heating proposed under the Paris Climate Agreement. Separately, the Global Carbon Project warned greenhouse gas emissions from fossil fuels are on track to rise by about 1% this year, with the growth of renewable energy failing to prevent record consumption of coal, oil, and gas. On Wednesday, thousands of climate activists in Belém, Brazil, launched a People's Summit flotilla to demand urgent action at the COP30 UN Climate Summit. This is Carolina Pasquale, director of Greenpeace Brazil, which organized the flotilla of about 200 vessels.
We are actually bringing climate negotiators and climate leaders through the heart of the forest to experience firsthand what it is to live here, remembering that the Amazon is a tipping point and that the population here are suffering. We are suffering from droughts. We are suffering for climate change, from fires. This forest is a rainforest that should not burn. It doesn't burn naturally. It only burns because there is a human ignition and because the forest is drier.
Democracy Now! Will be broadcasting live from the Belém COP30 Climate Summit all next week. In immigration news, detainees at a for-profit ICE jail in California are accusing a prison guard of sexually harassing and assaulting them. In federal complaints, prisoners say a guard referred to as Lieutenant Quinn summoned them from their dorms to an office late at night with no security cameras present and sexually assaulted them. One prisoner who threatened to defend himself says he was warned Quinn would summon prison guards and leave him facing charges of assaulting an officer. Quinn was later promoted and sent to another ICE jail in Louisiana. Both facilities are run by the GEO Group, a Florida-based private prison company. Meanwhile, the brother of an ICE prisoner who died at the Moshannon Valley Processing Center in Pennsylvania is suing the government for more information about the jail's conditions and the circumstances of his brother's death. Chao Fengge, a citizen of China, was found hanging by his neck in a shower stall back in August. His family said his hands and legs were tied behind his back. This is his brother, Yan Feng, speaking to reporters Wednesday.
It filled me with great sadness to think of his final moments alone. I don't know how he could have had the opportunity to take his own life or what drove him to do so. But these sort of things should not happen to people who are in the government's custody.
And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.
And I'm Nermeen Sheikh. Welcome to our listeners and viewers across the country and around the world.
Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.